We'll ride on out of the town to any place I know you'll like. Will you keep on saying you really, really love me?
Ever find yourself singing along to a song and then realize you've got no clue who sang it? 1964 was packed with giants, the Beatles, the Supremes, the Rolling Stones. But hidden between the chart toppers were tracks that burned bright, hit once, and disappeared. These weren't flukes, they were moments. Today, we're dusting off 10 unforgettable one-hit wonders from 1964 and possibly some bonus tracks, songs that left a mark even if the artists never returned. Stick around, because we're willing to bet at least one of these will take you straight back. Last Kiss, J. Frank Wilson and the Cavaliers.
Well, where, oh, where can my baby be? The Lord took her away.
It wasn't polished, it wasn't fancy, but it broke hearts anyway. A song that made the whole room go quiet, even if just for a minute.
Never forget the sound that night, the crying tires, the busting glass.
Last Kiss told the story of a car crash, a final breath, and a love that ended too soon. It hit like a teenage tragedy, raw, dramatic, and unforgettable. In late 1964, it soared to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, outcharting some of the biggest acts of the year. Maybe you remember it playing late at night on a scratchy AM station, or maybe you remember someone crying when they heard it. J. Frank Wilson never had another hit, but this one? It still haunts jukeboxes and broken hearts. Little Honda, the Hondells.
We'll ride on out of the town to any place I know you'll like.
It wasn't about a girl, it was about a motorbike. Ever love a song so much you didn't care how silly it sounded?
First gear, it's all right. Second gear, a lean right.
Little Honda was pure California. Sunshine, surfboards, and a Honda that could barely break 50 miles per hour. Written by Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, but handed off to a studio band called the Hondells, this revved-up anthem still raced to number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1964. You might remember it from a garage radio, or as the soundtrack to a joyride with nowhere to be. The Hondells never charted again, but for one summer, that little bike and this little tune were just enough. Suspicion, Terry Stafford.
It's so hard to find. Suspicion.
Wait, is that Elvis? You weren't the only one who thought so.
You kiss me, I'm still not certain that you love me.
Terry Stafford released Suspicion, a track originally recorded by Elvis himself, but it was Stafford's version that hit the airwaves first. With that echo-laced voice and dramatic build, listeners did a double take, and the song rocketed to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. Maybe you heard it and swore it was the king? Or maybe you just liked the way it kept you guessing. Stafford never landed another big hit, but for a moment, he borrowed a sound and turned it into something all his own. Popsicles and Icicles, the Mermaids. It was soft. It was sweet.
Yes, he's the boy that I love.
Popsicles and Icicles was everything 1964 pop was supposed to be. Harmonies, innocence, and a melody that floated like a daydream. The Mermaids were teenagers from Los Angeles, and this was their shot. They took it to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, right behind the Beatles. Maybe you heard it at a slumber party or from a radio tucked into your windowsill at night. They never cracked the charts again. But this one? It's frozen in time. Funny. Joe Hinton.
It was only yesterday.
It didn't need volume, it had soul.
It's so funny how time can slip right on away.
Joe Hinton's Funny wasn't flashy, it just hit. With gospel roots and velvet vocals, he turned a simple word into something that cut deep. In 1964, it climbed to number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100, carried by nothing but raw emotion and a slow, steady groove. You might remember it from a lonely night, or maybe from someone's heartbreak you never forgot. He never had another hit, but this one still echoes, quietly but clearly. Navy Blue, Diane Renee.
He's coming home to see me on a weekend pass, a 48-hour day.
It was innocent, it was dreamy, and it wore its heart right on its sleeve. Ever miss someone so much, even the radio felt like it knew?
Talkie, talkie, wind up little China doll that says, wish you were here.
Diane Renee sang her heart out as a girl waiting for her sailor, and Navy Blue struck a chord with teenage hearts across America. With its gentle melody and Renee's earnest voice, it sailed to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100. Maybe you heard it while writing a letter or slow danced to it before someone shipped out. It was her one shot, and she made it count. The Girl from Ipanema, Stan Getz and Astrid Gilberto. She walked by and music history changed. A song so smooth, it didn't sound like it came from a radio, but from another world entirely.
So sadly,
The Girl from Ipanema brought bossa nova to the mainstream. With Astrid Gilberto's soft Portuguese accented vocals and Stan Getz's warm saxophone, it drifted into the charts and stayed there, peaking at number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. You might remember it from a quiet dinner, a warm summer night, or a moment that felt slower, softer, better. None of them hit the charts again. But this one still plays in coffee shops and elevators, because it never stopped being cool. Who do you love? The Sapphires.
You were dancing with me, but I saw you.
It didn't scream for attention, it just slid in with style. The Sapphires dropped Who Do You Love, a tight, upbeat soul track with slick vocals and a bounce that refused to sit still. It climbed to number 25 on the Billboard Hot 100, powered by pure groove and effortless charm. Maybe you heard it once at a diner or buried in an old mixtape and suddenly found yourself dancing in the kitchen. They never had another hit, but this one? It still sounds fresh. Have I the Right? The Honeycombs. It stomped. It clapped. It didn't sound like anything else. The Honeycombs, led by a female drummer, no less, crashed onto the scene with Have I the Right? Raw vocals, hand claps that sounded like furniture falling, and a rhythm that begged for attention. It charged all the way to number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. You might remember it from a crowded dance hall, or from wondering, what is this and why do I love it? They didn't stick around, but this one still kicks. I Wanna Love Him So Bad, the Jelly Beans. It was bubbly, wide-eyed, and totally in love. The Jelly Beans, a fresh girl group out of New Jersey, delivered their first and only hit, I Wanna Love Him So Bad. With soaring harmonies and a melody that felt made for milkshakes and jukeboxes, it cruised to number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100. Maybe you played it while doodling someone's name in your notebook, or maybe you still hum it without realizing. They never returned to the charts, but they captured something sweet that still lingers. Don't Let the Rain Come Down, Crooked Little Man, the Serendipity Singers.
Spent any one crooked mile, bought some crooked nails and a crooked little bat, tried to fix it.
It sounded like a nursery rhyme, with a choir and a banjo.
All live together in a crooked little house, has a crooked door with a crooked little latch.
In 1964, the Serendipity Singers gave us Don't Let the Rain Come Down, Crooked Little Man, a whimsical folk pop tune that felt like a sing-along for grown-ups. With bright harmonies and quirky lyrics, it climbed to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100, proving that even the weirdest songs could win hearts. You might have heard it at a picnic, on a children's show, or from someone who sang it without remembering where it came from. It was their only big hit, but it stuck around in the oddest, happiest corners of memory. Ringo, Lorne Greene.
Knew someday I'd face the test, which one of us would be the best. And sure enough, the word came down that he was...
He wasn't a singer. He was Pa from Bonanza.
My speed was next to none, but my lightning draw had just begun when I heard a blast that stung my wrist. The gun went flying.
Ever hear a song so strange you had to play it twice just to believe it was real? Lorne Greene, yes, the TV cowboy, released Ringo, a spoken-word Western ballad with backup singers and a full orchestra. It told the story of an outlaw with a good heart, and somehow it hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. You might have heard it once and laughed, or leaned in, waiting to find out if Ringo made it out alive. Greene never sang again, and barely sang here, but this strange little story took him to the top. One hit, one legend, and one way to end a countdown no one saw coming. All of them hit once, and then vanished. But they didn't really disappear. They stayed in the background, in your memories, in old radios, in quiet corners of the internet, waiting to be heard again. So tell us, which one brought it all back for you? Drop your favorite in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe if you love finding the songs time almost forgot. Because sometimes, one hit is all it takes.